A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalatu wassalamu ala rasulihil kareem. Inshallah, today in our series of lectures called Reflection on Quranic Surahs, we will cover Surah Al-Maun, the 107th Surah of the Quran. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. This surah, there is a difference of opinion among the scholars. Either it was revealed in Makkah or Medina. But there is a piece of evidence in the surah itself which points to its being a Madani revelation. It states the threat of destruction to those who offer the salah, prayer, but are unmindful of their salah since they want only to be seen offering the prayer. This kind of hypocrites were only at Medina. But Allah knows the best where it was revealed, this surah. Now the major issue discussed in this surah is disbelief in the hereafter is the main cause of moral decay. Good consciousness, social welfare, and caring about other people's necessities of life are the main purpose of salah, means the prayer. The theme of this surah is to point out that what kind of morals a man develops when he refuses to believe in the hereafter. In verses 2 to 3, the condition of the disbelievers who openly deny the hereafter is described. In the last 4 verses, the state of those hypocrites who apparently are Muslim but do not believe in the hereafter, the day of judgment, reward and punishment has been described. The objective of depicting the attitude and conduct of two kinds of people is to stress the point that man cannot develop a strong, stable and pure character in himself unless he believes in the hereafter. Those people who offer salah, prayers but do not practice good behavior with others, believers and neighbors, and do not provide a helping hand when they are needed to do so, have not understood the very reason for which congregational salah are made obligatory. Therefore, it is pointed out that their prayers are nothing but a show and are not acceptable to Allah, and such people may very well end up in the hellfire. Faith in Allah and the hereafter is the basis of Islam, not just because it serves as a foundation of religion, but also because it gives us the motivation to become better people. Without this fear of accountability, there can be no real goodness. Even those who do not believe in Allah do some act of charity because they want to maintain a certain standard of goodness. But such good deeds are not acceptable to Allah, which are not done for Him. Therefore, disbelief is the greatest injustice that people inflict on themselves. Allah starts the surah with ayah number 1, Ara'aytal ladzi yukazzibu bid-din. Have you seen the one who denies the day of judgment? The greatest disadvantage of disbelief is that by distancing oneself from Allah and not experiencing His love and fear, the heart becomes hardened, so that a person cannot feel any real mercy for anyone. He becomes self-centered and selfish, being good to people only when it suits him to do so, rejecting them at will, not caring for their feeling at all. Allah says in ayah number 2, فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُّعُ الْيَتِيمِ. For that is the one who drives away the orphans with harshness. And more Muslims have become strangers to their religion. We see a rise in materialism and extravagance. It is because lack of faith gives rise to selfishness and greed. So you see millions of people going without food for days, starving to death, while their brothers in Islam are enjoying lavish meals day in and day out. but they will never stop to think whether their servants have had their meal or not. What to talk of the poor neighbors down the street? Allah says in ayah number 3, وَلَا يُخُدُّ عَلَىٰ طُعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ, and does not encourage the feeding of the poor. People often raise this question that so many Muslims pray Salah, then why they are not good in their general conduct and behavior. As we discussed in the previous surah, that ibadah or worship is not just going through a series of acts. Rather, it is the connection of our hearts with Allah, while our body is also bowed in front of Him with full humility and submission. But when the faith in Allah is weak and the akhirah seems to be remote possibility, then the heart does not worship Allah and remain occupied in other things. Therefore, such a person will pray with a non-serious attitude, doing the minimum effort and giving it up at the slightest inconvenience. Surely such a salah cannot be expected to bring any positive change in a person. As Allah says in ayah number 4 and 5, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. So woe to those who pray, the ones who are heedless of their prayers. These are Muslims by chance who pray because they have to maintain an image of religiousness, but Allah has no reward for anything that is done to impress people. Allazina hum yura'un, those who make a show of piety. The disease of showing off is not just in prayers but also in other acts, such where a person tries to look good in people's eye. So when he hopes to get a huge publicity, then he increases his charity to huge amounts, and if no one is looking, then becomes the true picture of his stinginess. As Allah concludes the surah with ayah number 7, وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ, and refuse to share the simple necessities of life. How true are the words of Allah! We have all seen countless examples like this, where a so-called generous person is behaving like a miser. But the real issue for each one of us is that how much sincerity of faith do I have in my worship of Allah and in my kindness to people. We are very fond of pointing faults in others, but on the day of judgment, the only thing that will matter is our own accounts of deed. So now, while we have the time, we should check ourselves. Just like we check the level of fuel and engine oil in our vehicles before embarking on a journey, we should check our hearts and action before we move on further on our journey of life. Do we have the required level of faith and sincerity that can take us to the paradise? May Allah give the ability to understand and retain what was said, implement in our lives, and spread the message of Quran to others. May Allah please forgive me if I made mistakes in communicating the message of Quran, as you are the best of those who forgives. Subhan rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.